practicing this wholesome, I like to think, intensive form of Christianity that was like very mindful. You got to be humble, and humility, from what I understand in the Christian aspect of what I was learning, was to know your place in the world. And so that led me to be very mindful in environments that I could help. Let's just say that, because I've been in a lot of environments that were provocative, and that caused me to defend myself a lot. And so, and it's not just physically. I like to think of myself as pretty emotional, pretty weak, pretty vulnerable, but defend myself emotionally. If I really just couldn't, and a lot of dynamics that involve me in my previous mutual relationships, and I don't mean just romantic. I've had to defend myself emotionally, and that's if I couldn't defend myself physically. And so to just passively deal with things and just be emotionally just kind of distant, or emotionally just kind of protective, emotionally, I would even say close to sociopathic, because you put yourself out there so much. You get burned, or you get hurt, or people say some hurtful things. You clam up a bit. I think you clam up a bit more. You don't show off your emotions as much to those people, and I just found myself doing that a lot, and I didn't think it would bleed over to my romantic relationships, but it did. And I have scarring that I'm dealing with, and I've had emotional relationships that have involved my own black people, that has led me to have a lot of fears involving black people. It's had something to deal with white people. It's had something to deal with Mexican people. It had shockingly something to do with Asian people that had happened recently. Because back in my past, I was very cautious of how I dealt with Asian culture. I wasn't those people. I actually scorned those people who was like ching chang chong and did all that other stuff, because I was like, that can't be it. That's not right. And I was very, very like protective of Asian culture, because I was like, yo, this stuff has got to be there's a sense of dignity to East Asian culture, and yeah, I didn't know all of it, and I found it to be still beautiful, because I respected the culture. I may not have known about it, but again, and I was still ignorant. I think I mentioned this, but I'll just tell it again. There was this guy, from my high school, and the guy was Vietnamese, and I was just so stuck and drunk off like the Japanese culture love affair that I had, that I was like, when I realized he wasn't Japanese, my conversations kind of dropped. And I always think about that, because it made me feel bad, because I still express ignorance despite trying to think of myself as culturally sensitive, and I turned out to be not. I still was ignorant. And so even nowadays, there's some people who are Asian. I try my best. My heart is not to come off as ignorant, and not to throw myself in that category of that ignorant person. And like, if they have, I try not to be that person who just assumes stuff. Quick scenario. I was hanging out at this place, and it was two gentlemen. One of them wasn't Asian, one of them was Asian. And the dude didn't really have an Asian type name. Now, let me explain. Now, he didn't have a name that was like Lei Feng or I don't know, Ling Chao Yu or whatever. And I mention these things because these are just names that I'm familiar with, and they're from like popular media, i.e. video games for me. They didn't, they weren't really names that like sounded non-English or non-biblical. So this guy, who happened to be Asian, I don't know what kind of Asian, but he happened to be an Asian, and he mentions to me his name, and it was a biblical sounding name. It was a Bible name. And now a lot of Americans have Bible sounding names. Oh no, they Bible-based names. I'm sorry, Bible-based names. So from that clue alone, now I get it, people may have different history, or they may whatever. It's just like a real gamble. You have to throw it out there. But like, the dude had a American name. Now it could have been an American name that he made for himself, or he could be a person who was American born and had a American name. And I'm like, I took the first step because it wasn't some random generic type name. It was like, oh, okay, that's biblical. That's like a important biblical figure. So I'm like, and it wasn't very common either, as far as I understood. So I was like, this guy's American. But then the other dude who wasn't Asian, he wasn't black either, he was like, yo, tell me about, and this dude was pretty young. He's probably younger than I was. And they both were kind of younger. They both were like 20-ish, it looked like. And the non-Asian dude who talked to the Asian dude said, hey, yo, you're this Asian thing, right? And he's like, yeah, I guess. And he's like, yo, tell me about the Asian stuff that happens in that country. And I'm like, I cringed a bit because I was like, yo, there's no way that this kid, Asian or not, will know anything about this Asian type deal, there's no way. But I cringed, and like sometimes I do be curious because I do be wanting to ask, but like, yeah, because I don't know, I have lack of knowledge, but I'm not gonna ask him that, at least until I get to know the person. And yeah, it might be ignorant, but at least I acknowledge your humanity before I start treating you like a caricature or something. And so I guess I mention all that because I'm like, yo, it's just sad to me. Shoot, I forgot what I was going for. I mentioned all that because I'm like, I understand how hard it is. Damn, I really lost my train of thought. I was really trying to connect this to something. What the heck was I talking about? Because I'm driving and stuff, so I have to keep my brain power to work on this. Okay. I'm driving and making these turns. Gotta be mindful of somebody actually hitting it and like making a sudden. I don't know. I'm sorry. But I think I was saying I was getting into narcissism. And I was like, I do love bombing. And I didn't know I did it, But I did it because I was like, I was saying like how I'm so conscious. I try to be very conscious I'm a sensitive person, I believe. And I'm pretty weak. And I'm emotional and I'm all this stuff. And I come off as socially just weak in this Western society. And I feel like I've also been discriminated against Asians. And I'm not sitting here trying to sit here and victimize myself. I'm just saying this has been a part of my experience, especially recently, and with this whole Stop Asian Hate thing. And that's one reason why I was kind of like feeling iffy, because I'm like, I heard from this lady YouTuber. She was a East Asian adoptee by white parents, and her name is Cheyenne Lynn or something like that. She talks about the anti-blackness that happens in the Asian community. And I remember looking at dudes like Kirk Honda, Dr. Honda. He was talking about this couple, and this lady, she was black and Asian. And he mentions that, and the dude is mixed himself, and he was saying how, just out of the blue, it wasn't really connected to anything, but he mentioned how Asian people who found like that maybe her dating a black dude would have brought shame to their family. And I'm like, that you said that out of nowhere. Why'd you say that? And I understand, and I seen this video on Jungle Asians versus Fancy Asians, and it just made me think like, and I heard recently from this Asian dude who was trying to use this black slang, it was just strange to me, because I'm like, how dare some of these Asian dudes who pick up slang that's black, that's from hip hop, originated from black culture, how dare they have black anti-black sentiments? Like, how dare they? I'm like, you guys trying to sit here and come off as quirky and adopt black culture, but have the nerve to be anti-black? That's how sickening. And I try my hardest to try to be conscious and try not to come off as ignorant. And I get this negativity, and I think it just pisses me off a little bit, because again, I try my hardest, man. I try to be conscious about stuff. And I hate when people demonize the idea of wokeness, because it's like, yeah, in society you do get sleep. I mean, you do act sleep. You do act unconscious at times. You do get stuck in the matrix at times. And sometimes you just need to wake up. Sometimes you do need to be conscious. Sometimes you do need to wake up and become woke. And, become awoke and become woke. And just say, hey, I'm not for the BS. I'm not for the bullshit. And I'm sorry if forgive me for my French for that, I hate it when people say that. Forgive me for cursing, but I have to say that because I'm like, don't sit here and say, oh yeah, we're fighting against for Asian rights. Won't they have gotten by the Biden administration, but still practice anti-black sentiment? And that's something I feel very irritable about, because I'm like, how could you sit here and get mad? And I hear from you in Fox News and stuff like these conservative outlets who have said, oh yeah, look at these black people fighting these Asians. I'm like, I guarantee you, in terms of these sentiments of going back to your own country, there's not black people saying that. There's majority white people. And I'm not going to sit here in front to say that black people don't have a good relationship with the Asian community. I blame the model minority thing. I don't think it's a myth. People say it's a myth. It's not a myth. I'm not saying it's a myth as in like the Asians are happen to be better. It's rigged due to immigration. I seen that dude from, what's his name, Eugene something, from the Try Guys. I seen it from him. Cause he mentioned like the model minority myth. I'm like, I don't think it's a myth, because if Asians think they're better than other races, it's apparently not a myth. They bought into the myth. It's not a myth. It's something they believe in. And if they think that dating a black man is somehow a curse, I just say, how dare you, man? How dare you? I don't care what you see in your popular media. I don't care even if it's Mexican people, whom I've learned from other Mexicans who happen to be nice people to have this anti-black mentality too. It's just like, how dare y'all? And some of y'all have this try to cling to black rap and stuff like that. It's just so strange to me, especially considering that the transatlantic slave trade and integrating with the natives there, the Taino people, and the other natives in South America. How dare you have this anti-black mentality? And then it's this weird colorism. I'm sorry, I'm ranting because I'm just like, I don't like the fact that people want to take shots at black people, and I don't like ignorance from black culture either. I'm sorry. Let's take shots at black people too, because I'm taking shots at everybody else. I don't like ignorance from black culture. Sometimes I think rap music destroys black society, and I think it sometimes besmirches our name and just makes it that much more harder for us to thrive as people, and thrive to get out of the black monolith, which we constantly switch gears on like we're in a manual transmission. Oh, we're not a monolith, but we kind of are. But we kind of aren't, because we're different. But we kind of are when we get offended. And then we want to talk about what's black. Oh, you're not portraying black people. And then they want to criticize how these so-called quirky black dudes, where the Donald Glovers, the Daniel Hannibal Burris's. I can't stand that criticism either, because it's taking shots at black suburbanites. I'm a black suburbanite. I like to call myself that, because I didn't grow up in Wisconsin. I was born in Chicago, but somewhat raised in Wisconsin, and I have those white assimilated personality traits. And so they sit here and say, they just complain. Some of these black so-called woke YouTubers, they complain about everything that's not what's deemed stereotypically black. And then when we see that same negative interpretations, or I guess I can call it interpretations, from like people like Family Guy, when they talk about the sassy black person, then we want to get a problem. I'm just like, what are we fighting for? We just seem to have we battle against negative stereotypes, but we don't really have any positive reinforcements or positive replacements. And so I guess I'm doing this whole rant style because I'm just a little pissed off, because I'm like, I got my own problems and I deal with that, and I had fetishism. I value white women and I value light-skinned women. And I had colorist ideas in the black community. I had that. And I've been, ever since I've noticed that, and I found it to be negative and hurtful and damaging. I even was damaged. I think I even damaged my ex-girlfriend. I mean, she's doing great. Seems to be doing great. You know, I don't want to put her business out there. I think I might have in the past, but I don't want to do it in this video. But she seems to be doing far better with somebody else than me, which is great. I'm not, but my point is that I've been trying my hardest to just try to change that programming thinking. And I know people don't like it because they think, oh, I'm just copping out. But I'm like, I share views that a lot of black people share. We value lighter skin. We have colorist ideas. And people say that, do you speak for yourself? You don't speak for everybody else. I'm like, I guarantee you, if we have a general survey and a consensus about how we feel behind closed doors, I'm not talking about PC talk, I'm talking about just that real talk about how we view bright people, lighter skinned people, women who got a light bright skin, and Asian women and white women versus darker skinned women, even women who are out of shape. We got perceptions, dog. We do. Like I guarantee you, we fetishize Janae Aiko because she's black and Japanese. I could be wrong if she ain't Japanese, but yeah, I guarantee you we fetishizing them. And I guarantee when they thought, oh yeah, Donald Glover, you must be gay, dog. Why didn't you try to hit that? Because we fetishize Asian women and mixed Asian women. And sometimes, yeah, it does hurt me when I see Asian women or Blasian women with white dudes and mixed women. You know, I'd be like, man, because I'd be wanting to date them. But yeah, I'm not gonna front. I'm putting it out on the table because I'm like, yo, I got problems I'm working through. I'm like, I get this hurt black woman. I get it, man. You know, this stuff ain't fair. You know, that we view white women and white. And another thing is just like, I feel like our culture shoots us in the foot constantly. Maybe more than other people. But at the same time, that's not entirely true. Because I feel like other cultures do dog us too. So we just getting hit on both sides, our own people and everybody else. I do think we get dogged out, you know, because it's like we hate ourselves and then other people hate us too. And then maybe because of their personal experiences, from negative experiences from ignorant black people. And it's not there's a difference between niggas and black people. I'm like, no, there's just some of us that just have bad bad habits, man, that we, as a community, as a black people, as a black collective, have to exercise out. No, you can't say, oh, we gotta be black and we can do hood shit. We can sit here and be black, but we can still be niggas too. You know, I'm like, isn't that what Cosby kept trying to do? But for some reason, a lot of these other comedians kept trying to exercise out. And I get it. Cosby wasn't a perfect person, and he wasn't an ideal person, unfortunately. But he still, even when in his flaws, he still wanted us to be better black people. I think that's why he had those speeches, because he himself knew he did some regrettable things, a lot of regrettable things, and wanted to maybe make penance. Because I know people sitting here hating on Bill Cosby because he did all those bad things to these women. I'm like, okay, fine, he did. But that doesn't mistake the fact that we shouldn't be sitting here practicing this pathology of just laughing to keep from crying, to laugh at ourselves. You know, a person who makes self-deprecating humor, when white people do it, they already have a legacy that is the opposite. So they can joke about being self-deprecating and not suffer. When we self-deprecate, we actually do suffer far more, because we don't have a legacy of the opposite. We actually have a legacy of not the contrary. We have a legacy of self-deprecating humor, not by us, but by white people. We have self-deprecating humor of us shucking and jiving, of dancing and being super pleasing, super submissive, super accommodating. We get crushed. And so when we say, dang, niggas just can't do nothing, can we? And we laugh at that. Yes, it's to keep from crying, but dang, like, do you want to cry about that? You want to laugh about, man, we just ain't shit? I don't. like, I had to say this because I'm like, I really do feel like we're just in a complex situation, you know. And I'm not saying we're perfect. I am thankful for aspects like Black Girls Rock, because Black women do need that support. They do need that morale boost. They do need to be said, hey, you're awesome, Black woman, you are amazing. And we need that for our Black men who's, yeah, great job, you know, and not just play this game of like stomp the white man while we lift up the Black man. You know, like just let white people do what they got to do. Get them out the situation. You know, and white people need to stop gaslighting us too when we trying to say, hey, we're awesome. You know, just let us say that. Let us affirm ourselves for a quick moment instead of white people saying, oh man, what about everybody else? I'm like, it's not really about everybody else. The conversation, the affirmation that we're trying to do for ourselves is just for ourselves. And I'm like, again, and that's probably another conversation for another day, that this whole white people who include themselves in our conversations, it's just like, no, this isn't that. This isn't a everyman conversation. When Black people involve white people, that's a conversation. When white people involve their own people, which they should, and they need to get a reality check on their own culture, which is not, guess what? It's not just a general swipe of white people. You guys have a bunch of other cultures such as Polish, Czech, Czechoslovakian, the Czech Republic. You guys got a plethora, German, Polish, Scottish, British. I mean, you know, Scottish is a part of British, but like the European countries and plenty of others, Germany, Russian, you know, take your pick and appreciate your culture so you can understand what it means that people just trying to hold on to their culture and appreciate it and value it and respect it. But that, again, another topic. Black people just need to have a moment, have a group where they value and appreciate themselves and say, hey, Black people, you are appreciated. And also, you can get your own respect. You are respected. You are loved. So we can have a general sense of mental healthiness where we can say, hey, I'm okay. And I want to get to that point where that healthiness becomes so regular that it becomes unquestionable. That we live like not some. I mean, I don't really know how it is, but I like to think to myself kind of like Suburbia, a Black suburbanite, where self-esteem is not an issue. You know, they think that self-deprecation is a strange thing. I want us to get to that point where we're just like, yeah, of course I love myself. Of course. That's not a problem. Of course. You know, I want us to get to that point. I don't want to sit here and have us get to this point where we just constantly shoveling this negative talk of figurative and artistic use of rap, self-deprecating rap lyrics. I'm getting so tired of that. I'm so tired of rap lyrics being used artistically. I'm like, to sit here and say a bunch of negative stuff and say it's just music, I'm like, people don't know the power of words. If somebody constantly kept calling you a hoe, a B word, you know, the B word, and I get it. Even Black women are, and due to American cultural syncretism, now the general American populace can say, oh yeah, I'm that bad bitch. Oh, I'm that bitch. I'm 100% that bitch. And they say that. You know, you can sit here and say, what does that really mean if you keep calling yourself that? But again, I get it. It's like the N-word. They're making it into a term of endearment. I am that person. You know, like for Black people, I'm that nigga. You know, it's term for, it don't mean I'm that worthless Black person, that worthless Black subhuman. It means I'm that confident person. You know, I'm that person who gets things done. You know, I'm that nigga. That's what that means, you know. But I'm like, apart from that, I feel like and yes, that's its own culture that just needs its own respect and understanding. But I feel like if we want to sit here and start talking about stuff, we need to be very clear. We need to be very clear about what we're looking for. And also when it comes down to goals and stuff like that, I'm like, in terms of the messiness that Black Lives Matter have had, the idea, I agree, the leadership and all that other stuff with this whole mention stuff, nonsense. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm just saying, like, the idea that people uses these funds on mentions instead of actually helping out the victims is just, it's trash. I'm like, I want another Black Lives Matter movement. I want that because I'm like, and like a literal thing that just affirms and improves the quality of life of black people. I get it. White people in the government and stuff like that are scared for some reason. They think we'll Retaliate. Like Cat Williams said, we just want to be appreciated. We're not trying to get no comeback. We're not trying to do no retaliation. We just want to live equally and not feel like that's a crime. We just want to live and just get by like everybody else. And we want to pass on our wealth to our children. You know, because I don't know. We just want a regular life. You know, you don't want to see and feel like, oh yeah, the struggle. Why? Who want to struggle? Nobody want to struggle. So that's how I feel. I'm done unloading. If I get the chance, I'm gonna upload this. But yeah, that's how I feel, man. I'm just putting the truth out there. That's how I feel, man. I'm trying to be better, man. I'm not perfect. And at the same time, forgive me for saying that because I don't want to sit here and misconstrue the idea. I've made bad choices. I've put myself into certain thinking. I'm not the black man that I want to be. And I want to be a black man who loves black women. And at the same time, I don't want to feel like I have to date my brothers and sisters. I'm sorry. I want to feel like I don't have to be a black woman, but that I prefer to be a black woman, or that I'm okay with being with a black woman. I want to have that thought in my heart. I want to have that in my mind where I'm like, I love black women, and I love myself. I love myself as a black man. You know, sometimes as a black suburbanite, it's hard to ward it. It's hard to, and I'm just trying to accept myself as a black suburbanite. I'm sorry, I can't be the black person that people think I am. You know, and I'm not going to be that submissive black person that some white people want to take advantage of. And again, I'd say that because it's happened to me. It's been my experience. But yeah, I've made bad choices. I'm not going to say it's a mistake because it wasn't an accident. It was things that happened during my living and experience. I just want to be better. You know, I don't want to be that guy who's just I don't know, just making bad choices for his life. I want to make better choices for myself. And I want to do it being a better and more responsible black person. So that's all. I don't know. I just hope people can get it, but if they don't, that's just me putting all my truth on the table for a moment. So appreciate you. Hopefully you hear me out. God bless. And Christ loves you. Bye.